Hey guys. Okay. So this is to follow up on the module discussion going off of chapter 4 and chapter 5. And I decided to answer on chapter 4. Let me see. Um I decided to answer question 1. Sorry about that. So, what are the key issues that bring together and separate the various modern men's movement groups? On what issues are they similar and on what issues are they different? Use your text to support your perspective. So, I said, I think all around the issues that bring together the men's movements are the way that they don't want to be categorized, the same as just general men. I think that in our society, the whole reason why these movements started was that they wanted to separate themselves from the picture of men being heartless and dominant and aggressive and not having any rights, not having any respect for women and this and that. So I said, somehow we have painted the picture that just because men have different body parts than us, we expect them to be emotionless. I think we see the beginning of this on page 77 when it says the male feminist support, when they were first put together, they supported women's battles with equal treatment and participate in women's rights. So they had to step out from just other men and show that they supported what we were trying to do with our movement. And I think that must have been probably pretty hard for them to break off from the society norm that, at that point that men were so dominant and powerful and kind of ruled the world. So they kind of stuck their neck out there to come in and align with us and to support us. I said that I see that these men saw the injustice that was going on at the time and didn't want to be categorized in this group, but wanted to break away from that identity. And from this, I see where the movement of that got momentum, and they started to feel comfortable with being more boisterous about the other concerns, violence against women, being good fathers, and what makes a good man. I then answered question number 3. After considering the text and other sources, what do you see the greatest problem or source of oppression facing men in the United States is today? Is it possible to generalize about the greatest problem facing men? When men vary in race, ethnicity, economic status, sexual orientation, and so forth, can use the text to support your response. I would say I would say personally the biggest oppression facing men, almost like a stigma, is the history of what defines a man. I like on page 76 where Michael Kimmel said there is more than one way to be a man. And I also said on page 92 under the Good Men Project, it stimulates us as a culture to ask what it means to be a good man today. There is no definitive way to be a good man. So I basically broke this off that, in my interpretation, was that I feel like it's just the long history that men have of being dominant and aggressive and, the violence and everything. I think that it just takes time, but I feel like really the biggest thing that they face is just the long history. When you think of a man across all borders, I don't think anybody describes them as being, sensitive or in tune with their feelings or, laid back. We all think of them, for myself at least, I think of them as independent, driven, hardworking, not very good with communication. And, obviously that's based off of my experience, but I feel like I can think of so many women and men to describe that as well. So then I went into chapter 5 and the question that says, discuss what you believe to be the conversational rules for your speech community and compare it to what you believe to be the conversational rules for those who identify as a man and a woman on campus or in your workplace. What are the similarities and differences between your own speech community and the gendered speech community at work or on campus? Do you feel more uncomfortable engaging in a predominantly feminine or masculine speech style? Use your text to support your response. So I feel like there should have been maybe like another key point to this question, because I feel like how you talk in different environments also affects how you engage with a man or a woman. Like how I conduct and engage myself in conversation at school is different than how I would relay that at work, and also relay that like at church, and then also differentiate between how I talk amongst myself just with casual friends, at dinner with mixed males and females. So I thought that that was something important to realize as well. So I said, I think the rules for conversations are really based on the environments. These environments fluctuate, so the looseness of it is able to fluctuate as well. And so what I thought about was that I used to work at this treatment center, and one of the patients was transgendered. So, and this is where I catch myself. She was originally born a he, and still had all of her male body parts. But see, like, it's hard for me, and I just don't have a lot of experience with that conversation, like with interacting with people, at least that I'm aware of, that are going through that transition. And so I wouldn't even on purpose, but like in my charting, I would say, he, even though he went by a girl's name. And, times when they would be having a breakdown and I would be comforting them or talking with them, I would accidentally like slip out he, because in my mind, it takes a conscious effort to be aware of other people when you're engaging with them. And, it's almost like ignorance to me that I'm still trying to work on and get better with. But I said that I do try my hardest to treat everyone with respect, no matter what the setting is. And then I also went with the last question of chapter 5, where it said, discuss a personal experience when you've been misinterpreted or misunderstood based on a gender talk. This could have involved trouble talk, showing support, relational talk, storytelling, etc. Use the concepts presented in Chapter 5 to examine and explain the situation. What do you think the author would say to explain your experience? Of course, use your text to support your response. So I really enjoyed those two examples. The coworker talking with the male coworker about being concerned about a coworker, and he was just very short. I feel like I've had relationships with guys, and that's how it is. And I'm like, hello, like, I'm trying to talk to you, and they're like, hello, I'm talking back. And it is a misunderstanding for sure, because I'm like, gosh, like, you just don't understand, because they're just very direct with their answers. Like, they're like, okay. And for them, in their mind, that's as much expression as they need to give. Like, they're like, okay, gotcha, good, and we're all about the nitty gritty, or if somebody has something to tell me and it's exciting, I'm like, okay, tell me everything, and so they'll be talking and describing a story to me, and then I'll find out like they left out like a minor detail, and I'm like, well, hello, like, what about that? And they're like, oh, I didn't even think about telling you. So I see in myself how I am very punctual, and from that, it is really frustrating to be a woman and to have a conversation with relationships of men, and they're not very boisterous, or, I would describe it, they're not very good at communicating, but in reality, they're just not in a very good way at communicating the way that I like to communicate, because to them, they are being engaging in the conversation, and they are answering me, but in my mind, the way that I like to communicate, I feel like they're not grasping on to what I'm trying to say. So I really did enjoy reading that part of the chapter, because I think that across the boards, if it's at work, romantic, friendship, school, no matter what the relationship entails, that we do run into problem areas as men and women, just by not thinking and having the same goal, and by conversating with each other. And that's all I got.